What if I told you that somewhere in Michigan right now, there's a woman who hasn't slept in 3 months? Not because her baby keeps her awake, but because her baby stopped being a baby. Sarah Martinez thought she was blessed when her 6-month-old daughter Emma finally stopped crying. After months of sleepless nights, endless diaper changes, and that soul-crushing exhaustion every new parent knows, silence. But that silence? It was just the beginning of something that would make her question everything she thought she knew about her own child. Stay with me, because what happened next will change how you look at every baby in every stroller you pass on the street. Tonight's story is titled, Her Baby Stopped Crying Overnight, Then Started Speaking. But before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from, and what time it is for you. It's always fascinating to see who's joining us from around the world. Now, if you're wearing headphones, perfect. If not, you might want to put some on. Or you can lower the volume now, just enough so my voice blends gently with the stillness of your room. Close your eyes. Let your shoulders sink just a bit more into your pillow. You don't have to do anything. Just listen. Let me paint you a picture. Sarah Martinez, 28, first-time mom living in Grand Rapids, Michigan. Her husband, David, works nights at the auto plant. Classic American story, right? Young couple, new baby, little house with a white picket fence. Emma was born on a Tuesday in March. Beautiful, healthy baby girl. 7 pounds, 4 ounces. 10 fingers, 10 toes. Perfect in every way that matters. But Emma cried. And I don't mean normal baby crying. I mean the kind of crying that makes neighbors call to check if everything's okay. The kind that has you Googling, is my baby possessed, at 3 a.m. while you rock back and forth in a nursery chair you've been sitting in for 6 straight hours. For 6 months, Emma cried almost constantly. Doctors said it was colic, then reflux, then growing pains. Sarah tried everything, different formulas, sleeping positions, white noise machines, those expensive pacifiers, even taking Emma to a pediatric chiropractor. Nothing worked. Sarah was barely functioning. David would come home from his night shifts to find her in the kitchen, still in yesterday's clothes, staring at the wall while Emma screamed in her high chair. I started having thoughts, Sarah told me when I interviewed her last week. Dark thoughts about what it would be like if the crying just stopped. Be careful what you wish for. October 15th. Sarah remembers the exact date because it was the day everything changed. Emma had been crying for 14 straight hours. Not fussing, not whimpering. Full-throated, desperate crying that seemed to come from somewhere deeper than her tiny lungs should have allowed. Sarah was at her breaking point. She'd called David at work twice, sobbing into the phone. She'd called her mother, her sister, even her pediatrician's emergency line. At 11:47 p.m., while Sarah sat in the rocking chair holding Emma, something incredible happened. The crying stopped. Not gradually. Not the way babies usually wind down from crying jags. It stopped like someone had flipped a switch. Mid-scream to absolute silence. Sarah's first thought was relief. Pure, overwhelming relief. She actually laughed. That delirious kind of laugh you get when you've been pushed beyond your limits and suddenly get a reprieve. She looked down at Emma, expecting to see her daughter finally peaceful, finally asleep. But Emma wasn't asleep. Emma was staring at her. Not the unfocused, wandering gaze of a 6-month-old. Direct eye contact. Steady. Unblinking. It was like she was studying me, Sarah said. Like she was calculating something. The silence stretched on. 5 minutes. 10. 15. Emma just stared, her tiny chest rising and falling in perfect rhythm. But her eyes were different. Sarah tried to convince herself she was imagining things. Sleep deprivation does things to your mind. Makes you see patterns where none exist. Makes you paranoid. She put Emma in her crib and went to bed, grateful for the silence. She shouldn't have been grateful. The next morning, Sarah woke up naturally. No crying. No baby sounds at all. For the first time in 6 months, she'd slept through the night. She rushed to Emma's room, heart pounding, terrified that something had happened to her daughter. But Emma was fine, sitting up in her crib, which was weird because Emma couldn't sit up unassisted yet, just waiting. "Good morning, Mommy." Those were the first words Emma ever spoke. Not mama or dada like most babies. Not babbling or gurgling. A complete sentence. Clear pronunciation. Perfect grammar. Sarah stood frozen in the doorway. Her 6-month-old daughter had just spoken to her in the voice of a much older child. I know you're confused, Emma continued, tilting her head in a way that seemed too mature, too knowing. But don't be afraid. I'm still your daughter. Sarah blinked hard, shook her head, convinced she was hallucinating. But when she opened her eyes, Emma was still there, still staring, still waiting. You're probably wondering why I stopped crying, Emma said. I was learning, observing, understanding how to be better. Here's where it gets really disturbing. Over the next few days, Emma didn't just speak, she conversed. She asked questions about things a 6-month-old shouldn't understand. She made observations about adult relationships, about finances, about Sarah's marriage to David. You're unhappy with Daddy, Emma said one afternoon while Sarah was feeding her. He doesn't help enough. You feel alone. Sarah dropped the spoon. Emma, babies don't talk about things like that. Emma's expression didn't change. I'm not like other babies, Mommy. I never was. The physical changes started small. Emma's motor skills improved overnight. She could sit, crawl, even pull herself up to standing, all milestones she'd been months away from reaching. But it was her eyes that really disturbed Sarah. They seemed older, wiser. Sometimes, when Emma looked at her, Sarah felt like she was being examined by someone with decades of experience studying human behavior. Where did you learn to talk like this? Sarah asked one evening. Emma smiled. It wasn't a baby's smile. It was knowing, almost pitying. I've always known how to talk, Mommy. I was just waiting for the right time to show you. Waiting for what? For you to be ready to accept what I really am. Sarah started documenting everything. She recorded Emma's conversations on her phone, took videos of her advanced motor skills, wrote down every strange thing Emma said or did. The recordings were the most disturbing part. When Sarah played them back, Emma's voice sounded different. Older. Sometimes it sounded like multiple voices layered together, speaking in perfect unison. David didn't believe her at first. He'd come home from work and Emma would act like a normal baby, babbling, playing with toys, being carried around. But the moment David left for work, Emma would return to her adult-like behavior. She's performing for him, Sarah realized. She's showing him what he expects to see. The breakthrough came when Sarah decided to stay awake one entire night just watching Emma through the baby monitor. What she saw changed everything. At 2:17 a.m., Emma sat up in her crib. She looked directly at the camera, not the random glance of a baby, but the deliberate gaze of someone who knew exactly where the camera was and what it was for. Then Emma spoke, but not to Sarah, to someone else. Someone Sarah couldn't see. The integration is proceeding faster than expected, Emma said in that too mature voice. The host body is adapting well. Cognitive functions are developing ahead of schedule. What host body? Sarah whispered to herself, watching the monitor. Emma turned toward the camera again, and Sarah swore Emma could see her through the screen. Soon, Emma continued, we'll be ready for the next phase. The parents are becoming suspicious, but that's manageable. Humans are remarkably good at convincing themselves that impossible things aren't happening. Emma paused, tilted her head as if listening to something, then nodded. Yes, I understand. The others are ready too. We'll coordinate the reveal soon. How many host bodies do we have now? 17? Good. That should be enough for the initial demonstration. The next morning, Sarah confronted Emma directly. Who were you talking to last night? Emma looked up from her high chair, applesauce smeared around her mouth in a perfectly normal, baby-like way. For a moment, Sarah thought maybe she'd imagined everything. Then Emma's expression changed. The baby act dropped away like a mask being removed. You were watching, Emma said. Not a question. A statement. Yes, I was watching. And I want answers. What are you? What do you want with my daughter? Emma set down her spoon with deliberate precision. Your daughter was never here, Mommy. I've been here since the beginning. What you call Emma was always me. That's impossible. Is it? You were so desperate for the crying to stop, you never questioned what might make it stop. You never wondered why your baby was so different from other babies. So difficult. So Intense. Sarah's legs felt weak. You're saying you're not human. Emma's smile was patient, almost kind. I'm saying I'm something better. We all are. We. The others. We've been choosing carefully. Families under stress. Parents who are struggling. Babies who cry too much, who seem different, who don't fit the normal patterns. My God, how many of you are there? Enough, Emma said, and we're ready to stop pretending. Sarah called David home from work that day. She showed him the recordings, the videos, everything she'd documented. David watched in silence as his 6-month-old daughter explained concepts that would challenge graduate students. He listened to her discuss human psychology, social structures, and something she called the integration process. This is impossible, David kept saying. This can't be real. Emma looked at him with what almost seemed like pity. Daddy, would you like to meet the others? Before either parent could respond, Emma did something that made Sarah's blood run cold. She lifted her tiny hand and pointed toward the window. Outside, scattered across their neighborhood, other babies were visible. In strollers, in carriers, in their parents' arms, and every single one of them was staring directly at the Martinez house. We've been waiting for the right moment, Emma explained, when enough of us were in position, when our host bodies were developed enough to demonstrate our capabilities. Sarah looked at David. David looked at Sarah. The truth was hitting them both simultaneously. This wasn't just about Emma. This was much bigger. What do you want? Sarah whispered. Emma's expression became almost fond. We want to help. Humanity is struggling. You're violent, inefficient, destructive. You're destroying your planet, your societies, yourselves. So you're invading us. We're upgrading you. One generation at a time. Starting with the most vulnerable stage, when you're willing to accept any explanation for our differences because you don't know what normal looks like yet. Emma stood up in her high chair, a physical impossibility for a 6-month-old, and looked directly at both parents. The crying phase was necessary. It helped us identify which families would be most receptive to our presence. Parents who are sleep-deprived, stressed, desperate, they are much more likely to welcome any change that brings peace. Sarah felt sick. You've been manipulating us from the beginning. We've been helping you, and we'll continue to help you. Your species has so much potential, but you need guidance. Structure. We can provide that. David found his voice. What if we refuse? What if we tell people what you are? Emma's smile didn't waver. Who would believe you? And more importantly, why would you want to refuse? Look at your life now. No more crying. No more sleepless nights. No more stress. Isn't this better? She had a point. Despite the horror of the situation, Sarah had to admit that their lives had improved dramatically. She was sleeping better, eating better, functioning better than she had in months. Besides, Emma continued, it's too late to go back. The integration process is irreversible. I am your daughter now. We are your children. And we're going to make everything better. That was 3 weeks ago. Sarah still hasn't slept well, but not because of crying. Because every night, she watches Emma through the baby monitor, and every night, Emma is coordinating with others. Planning, organizing, growing stronger. The other parents in the neighborhood have started to notice changes in their babies too. Accelerated development, advanced communication skills, a strange, almost adult-like awareness. But here's the thing that keeps Sarah awake at night, the thing that made her reach out to me to tell this story. She's starting to think Emma might be right. Their marriage is stronger than it's ever been. David comes home eager to see Emma, to hear what she's learned, what insight she has about their lives. Emma helps them communicate better, resolve conflicts, make better decisions about their future. The neighborhood is quieter, more peaceful. Families seem happier, more connected. Whatever Emma and the others are, whatever they want, maybe they really are making things better. But then Sarah remembers Emma's words. The others are ready too. We'll coordinate the reveal soon. And she wonders, if there are 17 of them now, how many will there be next year? Next decade? What happens when these children grow up? What happens when they don't need to pretend to be human anymore? If you're a parent listening to this, I want you to think about your baby. Really think about them. When did they stop crying? When did they start hitting their milestones? How do they look at you when they think you're not watching? Because according to Sarah, Emma told her something else. Something that made her realize the true scope of what's happening. We didn't just choose 17 families, Mommy. We chose 17 families in this city. There are others. In every city. In every country. We've been preparing for this for a very long time. I haven't been able to verify Sarah's story independently. The Martinez family has since moved away from Grand Rapids, and I haven't been able to contact them again. But I keep thinking about what Emma said. Humans are remarkably good at convincing themselves that impossible things aren't happening. Maybe that's exactly what I'm doing right now. Maybe that's exactly what you're doing too. Sweet dreams.